Podcast here for Tuesday's 14 game main slate. James, my guy, another big Tuesday slate on the way for the people. They gave us a 7-day Monday, but we actually have some pretty big slates all week long. So this 14 gamers really just kicking off the start of it all.
Yeah, buckle up. We're in for a ride this week. Big 14 gamers. So let's not even waste any time, John. We'll get right into Viva Las Vegas. Your Boston Red Sox, one of the biggest favorites on the board, minus 230, sending Cutter Crawford back out as a starter. That apparently plans to remain as a starter, even though, hasn't been really throwing starter innings. Biggest favorite on the board is Hunter Brown and the Houston Astros, minus 250 against it's Patrick Corbin Day, John. Happy Tuesday. Happy Patrick Corbin Day. Getting the Houston Astros matchup here. And Tony Gonsolin and the Los Angeles Dodgers minus 190 up against the Chicago White Sox. In terms, those are the biggest favorites. In terms of over-unders, nothing really that big. The Boston game, 9.5 over-under. 9 implied runs in LA, Texas, 9.5 in Cincinnati, Kansas City, but that's really it. Those are the only 3 games currently with 9 implied runs or more.
Sure. When we're going over there and taking a look at the rest of this slate, again, 14 games. Again, they showed the little weather symbol here for Boston, but I'm looking through the hourly forecast, at least for now on Tuesday. It doesn't look all that bad. So the other weather forecast here looks to be in Chicago. Trying to pull out that right now as we speak to see if we'll have any significant potential rain impacts for that game. Tuesday weather in Chicago. Yeah, it is going to be a wet one. It looks like we got about a 40 to 50% chance of rain, a high of 75% in the late afternoon to early evening. So maybe this one is a delay. We're looking at rain starting at noon, rolling all the way through 9 p.m. according to weather.com. So maybe this clears out. Maybe it misses that poor part of Chicago where the stadium is. So definitely pay attention to the weather reports as we get along a little bit later in the day with that Chicago game with Pittsburgh, Chicago, because that one could be impacted by a little bit of wet weather. So that said, let's go on over to the pitching position here, James. Let's talk about our favorite pitchers for tonight's slate. You mentioned that Hunter Brown is your top pitcher here, but we've been discussing the Nationals and their recent successes against right-handed pitching. What do you think wins out here today? Do we get Hunter Brown coming off of some average-ish starts? He hasn't been the most dominant pitcher here really of late. He's had some high scores. He ran a couple of good matchups against Oakland. Minnesota got to him. Toronto got to him a little bit. What are you feeling when it comes to the Nationals and this matchup against Hunter Brown? Does he make your play today?
No, I don't think he does. 10-5 is very pricey, and I like the next tier of guys below. I don't see myself getting to much Brown or Wheeler. I think moderate amounts if you're playing a 20 max, couple shares of each, but I would rather just go to Corbin Burnes coming off his best start of the year, 8 scoreless, 2 hits allowed, 9 strikeouts. Corbin Burnes is back, especially in the strikeout department. Only 1 start in his last 7 has he had less than 5 strikeouts, which has been a glorious sight to see. That's the Corbin Burnes of old. The pitch count is back for Corbin Burnes after, largely throwing high 80s, low 90s. Yeah. It's now 110, 196 in 3 straight starts. And I think that's directly correlated to him just pitching well. Milwaukee's just more trustworthy of him staying in the game. And we know Minnesota's an offense that strikes out a lot. It's mostly against lefties. Number 1 strikeout rate in the league. Right.
Yeah. So against righties, last 14 days, 30.8% strikeout rate. Recency here. Kevin Gausman just had a hell of a time against Minnesota. They walked 4 times. They knocked them around. But that feels much more like an outlier performance than what we should be worried about here. And you're getting Corbin Burnes under 9K, under 10K rather. I do like that one a lot. What are your thoughts on Max Scherzer going up against the Yankees lineup without Aaron Judge in it?
I love it because Scherzer looks really good and kind of hit around in that Brave start, but that was like the weirdest series of all time in terms of like runs scored for both teams. And he
Yeah.
still had 10 strikeouts. Like
Right.
he looks pretty dominant in the strikeout department, 8, 9, 10. And I mentioned it going into that Atlanta start. Like he has progressively looked better each start, especially in the strikeout department. He just wasn't healthy earlier in the year, and it was just limiting him.
Right.
But he looks
Over
healthy
100 pitches
again.
in 3 straight. Great.
Yeah, it just 5 runs against a really tough Braves offense. Like it happens. And the Yankees offense is in complete shambles. The Red Sox shut them down all weekend. And without Aaron Judge, without Harrison Bader, Volpe struggling, Rizzo struggling, Stanton struggling. Like there's nobody, not one player in the Yankees lineup you can pinpoint right now and be like, yep, they're scary, right? Not one, not
Yeah.
literally one. So I think if you're not playing Corbin Burnes, Max Scherzer is the best spend up on the slate.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Those are definitely the top price guys. If we're down into the middle tier, I mean Musgrove being
Dude,
$7,800,
it's
man.
just so stupid. Like, what do we do? Why?
Yeah,
Why?
got up over 100 pitches against Seattle, which is great.
Yep.
Obviously, we were kind of a little frustrated getting pulled there against
Miami.
Miami and New York. 88 and 80 pitches, pitching really well there. Gets taken out. Seattle though, 102 pitches. Listen, I know Cleveland is slowly starting to come around. I mean, Ramirez has really been the one-man show there. They don't strike out all that much here, but this still feels like a too cheap of a price tag for Joe Musgrove.
Yeah, and Cleveland still, like, even with their coming around, they're still 25th in the league in terms of OPS against right-handed pitching. This is a horrible price for a guy that's actually striking people out now, too. 8 strikeouts his last start. He's now had, in his last, 6 starts, he's only gone less than 5 strikeouts once.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think Musgrove's going to be probably the highest owned pitcher in this tier.
Yeah, I won't even really have much argument against that because I really don't love what's in here. Listen, San Diego goes very up and down. BB is a pretty decent prospect.
Yep.
Has some decent moments here. Gonsolin, we kind of like pegged the underlying numbers on him were not very good. Cincinnati goes out there, hits him up. White Sox lineups definitely hit or miss. Maybe people looked at Gonsolin at home, but there isn't really a lot in this range. I mean, maybe Bassett against Baltimore, but Baltimore's numbers lately starting to kind of pop around a little bit. Maybe Bassett at 9K is the next tier people kind of take a peek at, but for a 14-game slate, I go to Cutter Crawford, I think is my favorite value on the board, but there's not really much else that I'm looking at here.
Like I would throw darts at George Kirby. I think he's fine. Bassett, I don't dislike. Pablo Lopez on the flip side of Corbin Burnes coming off a really, really good start in Tampa Bay. He's been electric at times this year, but I largely agree. My favorite value would probably be Luis Severino. I know there's probably not a lot of win equity going up against Scherzer, but like when you just look at the rest of the tier, John,
yeah,
like in terms of talent, it's Severino and then the field probably. I know he's been pretty bad.
Yeah,
the strikeouts were good against the White Sox, although the home runs, that's been the concern. The home runs for Severino, but the problem is he's never profiled as a guy allowing home runs. This is the most home runs he's allowed in a while. Like for his career, 1.11 home runs per 9 innings. He's allowed 6 home runs in his last 2 starts. That's just not gonna. That's gonna stabilize eventually. So 7,100 for Luis Severino is just too cheap because he has, on a given slate when he's going good, he has double-digit strikeout upside.
Yeah, that's fine. I would agree with you. The Mets, Noel Pete Alonso right in that lineup, so definitely something. Plus, the Mets have guys that are better against lefties. Some of their power hitters better against lefties there. So I agree. I agree with you there. Again, I go Cutter Crawford against Colorado because I think Colorado is largely a trash offense, and Crawford should be extended. I think a little bit more in this one. Again, he had just pitched 3 days prior, and they let him throw 60 pitches. So I think stretching him out a little bit more could get a little bit of a longer leash. When he started earlier this year, max 93 pitches on opening night through 72 against the Angels. So we'll sit in that range. And then Chirinos is interesting. I pitched him against Minnesota at $5,900, came out with 19 fantasy points. I know he's a guy that doesn't profile for a lot of strikeouts, but Oakland, $6,100. I don't hate that. And again, we expect Tampa Bay to probably win this game. So if he goes and gives them another quality-ish outing, could get you another 15, 16 fantasy points here.
Yeah, I don't hate it. The strikeouts were fine last time out. And I will say, if there was a time to maximize strikeouts, it's probably against Oakland, right?
Right. I mean, Minnesota is the worst strikeout team against righties. He had 4. He probably doesn't go much more than 4, right? But if he gives you the White Sox here, when he pitched in relief, obviously, but if he gave you 5 innings and earned in 3 Ks, he still gave you 16 fantasy points in that game. So,
Right.
$6,100 is doable. So those are the pitchers for me on this slate. Anybody else for you? Okay. Let's talk about our favorite infielders then. We're looking about breaking down matchups here. What's some of the key spots to target for you on this one? If you want me to lead
I like
it
Wander
up,
Frank.
Yeah, Wander Franco's good. Sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, Wander Franco. Bobby Witt would be the 2 top spends, and then I really like Ellie De La Cruz and Jose Altuve as my kind of 4 guys. Unfortunately, 3 of those guys play the same position.
Right.
Jose Altuve at second base, I like. So those would probably be my top guys: Wander, Witt, Ellie, Altuve.
Okay, yeah, I definitely like those guys there. Ellie, of course, every slate is going to be the top play, I think, for most of the time. But up to $4,700 already kind of shows that there is DraftKings is taking notice, right? DraftKings is taking notice of the Ellie talent. He gets Jordan Lyles, big home run potential here. So $4,700, I think, is going to be a top play. I also like Freddie Freeman against Lance Lynn. I am not a Lance Lynn guy.
Sure.
I get a lefty versus Lynn here. He's $6,300. It certainly is much, but 3 homers and 2 stolen bases now for Freddie Freeman's gonna steal 20 bags this year? Is this really what we're doing with Freddie Freeman?
Maybe.
So I super expensive, but I'm big on Freeman. I liked Ellie for sure. In those spots, especially at the top here. When it comes to infield positions, there, I was also kind of a fan again of going back to Tampa Bay. Tyler Walls hammers lefties. Isaac Paredes hammers lefties. You mentioned Wander Franco hits lefties really well. So Tampa will once again be one of my favorite stacks of the night. Walls and Paredes are sort of a mid-tier plays at $4,400 and $4,200, but go look at their splits. They're just gross. Taylor Walls against lefties on the year. Again, just quickly pull it up so I can quote it correctly, but it's pretty ridiculous. 375, he's 700 slug and an 1157 OPS. This is a guy that on the year is hitting 211. But against lefties, he's hitting 375 with a 700 slug and an 1100 OPS and 40 at bats. They play him every day, but if he only ever played against lefties, he'd be an all-star. So that's where I'm at for our top infielders. Where are you for some value infielders on today's slate?
So Taylor Walls is definitely really interesting because he has like 2 hits in his last like 30 at bats.
Oh yeah, no, because he's mostly facing righties. But Martin Perez was on the mound against Texas. He had a good game against the other day. So again, lefties are just where he has to play.
Some of my favorite value. Gunnar Henderson really stands out here, dude.
Leading off,
just talk about like just waiting out the storm that was the beginning half of the year, and you've been rewarded. 3 home runs in his last 4 games, 394 average, 1200 OPS. Oh, by the way, Gunnar Henderson now with an 804 OPS on the year, just like out of the clouds. Because what did he do? Like, he always was reaching base. Yep. He just wasn't hitting. And now he's doing both, and everything's coming around for this guy. We know Chris Bassett's been largely bad against left-handed bats. So Gunnar Henderson, immediately my favorite value on the slate. I'm not really sure it's like all that close to anything. At least on the infield. So Gunnar Henderson, and you stole my other one, Isaac Paredes, has just monster power. We're gonna get to another really solid value from Tampa Bay in the outfield that
Mhm.
I really like, who bat flips on people he thinks are
Right.
racist, which I think is hilarious. Like, uh, just a hilarious thing that he does. But more on that later. But yeah, I love Isaac Paredes against a left-handed pitcher is my other favorite.
Yeah, I think Rengifo gets a lefty here at $2,400. Could be a decent value play should he find himself in the lineup. And I also liked Tucupita Marcano. You're gonna hit probably lead off
Lead off. Yep.
against Tyon there. I think both of those guys are decent value plays for the infield. And I'll throw out the obligatory Casas call there as well. Gonna be cheap for Boston should that game find its way off. Chase Anderson on the mound at $2,600. If he has a good night tonight, may see more people go in his direction. Actually, let me throw one more at you now that I'm scrolling through. Jose Abreu maybe slowly starting to come around. Homers in 2 of the last 3, 6 RBIs.
Aliens. Aliens.
Right?
Home
Home
runs?
runs. Home runs. He has 3 of the last 4 games. He had 2 hits in 3 straight. He had 2 homers, 6 RBIs. Now he's getting Patrick Corbin experience. So maybe Jose Abreu finally starting to break out a little bit.
Maybe.
So I'll probably the
I
other
got one more.
okay.
I got one more. Zach Nato. So Texas doesn't have a starter listed on DraftKings. They're expected to start Cody Bradford, and if you remember, we saw Cody Bradford pitch this
Yeah.
year. 8 earned runs in 10 innings, 2 left the yard, 7.20 ERA. Zach Nato has had a double dom the
I was
other
gonna say
day, and
double
we know
domed, yeah.
he hits lefties
Mm-hmm.
well. So like, I don't
And
know,
he'll hit
like
9 still, but we played that Ward Nato stack the other day, and it actually worked out. They
yep.
double stole. They got on base enough.
Double still it was it was nice.
Uh,
It was nice. And so just throwing that out there. If they do start this Bradford kid, 25 years old, struggled in his 2 appearances with the major league team, not on DraftKings slate. Maybe he's added later in the day. But worth noting, Zach Nato very
sure,
cheap.
he's appearing for me on the DraftKings slate. If you refresh your screen,
Oh, okay. He wasn't appearing for me originally, so
yeah,
good to know.
yeah. So he's showing up there for them. So all right, let's go on over to the outfield. Let's talk about our favorite outfield plays then here for the day. Again, just looking at some of these obvious matchups, you have Mookie Betts as your top priced outfielder, obviously the top priced second baseman there as well against Lance Lynn. Tatis gets Bibby here. Harper against Davies. I talked about the lefty splits against Zach Davies are pretty ridiculous there. Rosa Reyna gets a lefty. He hammers left-handed pitching. JD Martinez up to $5,700. We know he's hammering right-handed pitching. Where are you going with your outfield top plays of the day?
Yeah, I wish some of these Dodgers were lefties at the top because we know how
Yeah.
absolutely atrocious Lance Lynn is against lefty bats. But hard not to get some of these guys. Honestly, Trout at 61 and Ohtani at 64, I really like. I know Trout's mired in like a really bad slump. I've actually don't remember the last time I saw Mike Trout hitting 250. But we're there right now, and that's kind of wild. But if Bradford's struggles continue, this is not a team that you want your struggles to continue against with Trout and Ohtani at the top of that lineup and Taylor Ward as well. So I like both Angels. I definitely can get the JD Martinez just given what he's done against right-handed pitching. Same thing with Julio Rodriguez. Edward Cabrera has been a reverse splits guy, and I'm not exactly. I don't know if you saw Edward Cabrera's price on
Yeah,
this
he's
slate.
expensive.
I don't. I don't quite get it. But he's been really bad against right-handed bats. 840 OPS, 369 WOBA allowed. Julio Rodriguez, 9 home runs against righties this year.
Sure.
So I think Julio Rodriguez fits in that tier with Trout and Ohtani for me.
Okay. I agree with you there. No one will probably play Corbin Carroll, but he hits everybody right now. $5,500. Can certainly take a run there for some other top plays. Kind of just scrolling our way down.
Boston should be popular
Yeah.
again. Chase Anderson giving up home runs, still like surviving ish.
Yeah.
The home runs have been 5 home runs his last 3 starts. Like, he's definitely struggled in that area. But, like, again, the numbers are just screaming that he's going to get shelled. Screaming. Top of the absolute Mount Everest, screaming he's going to get shelled. So all of Boston's outfield for sure.
Yeah, I know she didn't play Monday, so she would surely be in the lineup for Tuesday's game there.
Yep.
Mid-tier in value, guys. What are kind of jumping off the page to you here? Anybody of note?
Yeah, Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay hits lefties really, really hard. They're number 1 in the league against left-handed pitching this year. I would play them all. Harold Ramirez right here, 349 ISO, 476 WOBA against left-handed pitching this season is kind of insane. And the value play that I was alluding to was Jose Siri, who's $4,100, a little pricier than I kind of expect him to be ever. But the power, dude, is crazy. 379 ISO, only behind Luke Raley on this team against lefties, and Luke Raley's sample is 2x less than Series is. 353 WOBA. Like, he just has all the power. Now, he strikes out a ton, which is, not the best, but Tampa Bay or Oakland throwing a guy that's not exactly a strikeout arm. So I love Siri and Harold Ramirez here in this.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that. We have Friedel here at $3,900 as well against Jordan Lyles. I know we're going to be in on that play there. Hunter Renfroe's back and only $3,700 against a lefty.
Yep. Him and Taylor Ward, pair both of them, right? 37, 35.
Yeah, both of those guys are in, I think, fantastic spots. Duran's $3,600 led off tonight. Don't know if he'll lead off tomorrow with Yoshida back, but something to at least pay attention to. Estory Ruiz is always a guy that's in play for stolen base potential as well. What was the other one that I liked? I was just scrolling down here. Oh, Leotis, $3,100 against Berea here. I think it's also a really good spot. His splits against righties this year, given the recent trend for him, are better than they are against lefties. Against righties this year, 303 average, 492 slug, 848 OPS, 4 of his 5 homers off righties, 3 of his 5 stolen bases, obviously, against right-handed pitching. So you're getting Leotis hitting 9th for the Rangers, but wrapping around to Simeon, Seager, that whole crew. At $3,100, I think is a really good value on this slate as well.
Yeah, I love that. Texas is going to be, I think Texas, not the largely popular, because 14 games without cores, like, nothing's going to like really stand out in terms of ownership. But I like those plays. How about some?
Where's Houston?
How about some Houston? How about some Houston?
I'm looking at where's Jolks?
Dude, they're all free. So McCormick is $3K.
800. Oh.
So you could play Dubois now in the outfield, 35. Which I don't know why you would, because you could play McCormick 3K, you could play Jolks 2,800, you could play Jake Myers 2,300. You can play any of those guys. Patrick Corbin against righties this year, 320 average allowed, 860 OPS, 370 WOBA. Myers, 355 WOBA against left-handed pitching. Jolks is actually not hitting lefties well. Does have a homer against them.
He's got a 455 slug, which is higher than against righties, but the OPS is kind of trash. So
yeah, 242 average. He's kind of has a lot of power. Chas McCormick, 365 WOBA against left-handed pitching. So
555 slug against lefties for
him. Pretty good. Some pretty good value in Houston. We know that they're all going to play with Yordan out, right? And I also throw out Aaron Hicks, who continues to be really, really good. Some freaking how at 2,900. Chris Bassitt's been really bad, dude.
Ramon Laureano's $2,600. He continues to hit the ball really
dude.
Well.
Back on the roids. Back on the roids.
He stole a bag the other day. We talked about Will Benson on the Monday stream. We'll see if he comes around. But another lefty against Lyles, some power. He's $2,600. It's a 14-game slate. There's a lot of value. Manny Margot, just a dart throw against a lefty for Tampa Bay. Could be Joe Adell against a lefty. He homered in his recall there. His only game. Oh, he's optioned back down. Are they going to recall? Oh no, because Renfroe's back. That's why I dug it.
Renfroe back. They gave Joe Adell gave us a tease, hit a home run, and said peace.
Right? Hayward homered the other day. Made Hayward against Lynn. You mentioned lefties there.
Dude, lefties, yes. David Peralta, Hayward, they're both going to hit in like the middle of that lineup, like 5-6. That's what they hit. It's crazy that Peralta. I mean, Peralta's has been a really good hitter for a really
Yeah.
long time, so I'd be okay getting
And
there.
then we have the 2K outfielder for Kansas City that got called up tonight, Blanco.
Yep.
He is 2K again. He had 47 stolen bases in 49 games at the AAA level this year. So
it is literally absurd. It is absurd.
All right, we got a couple of minutes here, James. Do you want to run through some calls for you here?
Yeah, sure. Let's do a home run call. Is going to be Mike Trout. I think Mike Trout's going to get off the schneid here. Top stack. I'm going to stick with the Angels against Bradford. I'm kind of all in there. My contrarian stack, because I don't think Houston's going to get a lot of love. I know Patrick Corbin's on the mound, but I don't think there's a lot of lust with Houston, given there's no Jordan. Like, you can't use Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go Houston as my contrarian stack. My top overall play, I went Trout. I kind of want to steal Freddie Freeman from you, but I won't. I'll go Wander Franco as my star of the night. And then my top value play, just pick and choose one of those Houston outfielders. I'm going to go Gunnar Henderson as my top value.
Okay, I like that. Why don't you start making a lineup? I'll run through my my list here. My home run call for this evening, I'm going to go with Freddie Freeman. I think we kind of talked about that, right? Lefties against Lance Lynn, just doing a lot of damage here. My top stack of the night, I'm still going to go back to Tampa Bay, though. Love Tampa Bay in general, just an absolute monster play. I do think you can get to obviously the Dodgers here. I know Lynn worse against lefties and righties, but I do think the Dodgers always kind of play up there. My contrarian stack, I'm going to go Philly against Davies. I just think Zach Davies gets hit here. Another team that's a little bit expensive. For my value play here of the night, I mean, we went over some outfielders. I'm going to go Chas McCormick at 3K. I think that those power numbers, that slugging percentage against lefties, and Corbin just going back to being back to the pumpkin. Is this we're going to go there. And then my star of the night, I'll just run it back to Freeman. I just think he unloads on Lance Lynn. So let's get a lineup going. What do you got building for us here?
So I went Burnes, Musgrove on the mound. And then I just have Freeman, Henderson, McCormick plugged. So only three. It's about $3,900 a play left.
McCormick. Okay.
Catcher, I'd be perfectly fine going to Connor Wong for the power numbers against Chase Anderson. I think Boston would be smart to roll him out here.
Shortstop. Ellie's expensive now. Did you want Gunnar at short or third?
We could do either. I think depending on which route we prefer.
Actually, let's do Nato at short. We like that call there.
Yeah, hell yeah. Because pay no more.
$2,800.
Taylor Ward or Renfroe as another outfielder.
Yeah, I like Ward there because we'll connect with him there. $5,150 for a second baseman and an outfielder. Do you want to try to fit in
Trout and then a $42 second baseman?
Trout and then second baseman here.
At this price, it's probably Merrifield or Frazier, or actually Bryson Stott to your lefties against Zach Davies. If you want to go Bryson Stott,
yeah, that works.
He's been 324 over his last 10 games.
I like it. Okay, so there we go for a lineup here. Corbin Burnes, Joe Musgrove, Connor Wong, Freddie Freeman, Bryson Stott, Gunnar Henderson, Zach Nato, Chas McCormick, Taylor Ward, Mike Trout. A little angel stack for everybody here. James and I will be back live at 5 o'clock Eastern with the live stream updates and everything going on. Feel free to get in the Discord if you're not already a member, faceline.com/allpro. Promo code MLB50, access to all of our DFS content on the site and on our premium Discord, plus 7-day free trial going on right now as well. James and I will be back later.